Hello, all you lovely people at the Global Summit. I'm Em Stroud, and I'm here to talk a little bit about why laughing, thinking, and playing will really help you and your career and, of course, business success. Now, these three things are, of course, inherently human. We all know how to laugh. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you definitely do know how to laugh, and we all know how good it makes us feel. And I'm also assuming that if you're all human beings watching this, you also know how to think. And no doubt at certain points in your life, those thoughts have sometimes not been that kind. Yes? Oh, yes, we've all been there. And when it comes down to play, you were all children. Yes, I know. Even you, the one that's sitting there slightly skeptically going, well, I was, but that was a very long time ago. So all of us do know how to play. And I, as Em Stroud, am on a mission to get the world to laugh more, think more and play more. Because you know what? It will not only help you in terms of your career and how successful you feel, but more importantly, it's going to help you feel better. And if you feel better, then of course you can fly even more than you already do. So just a quick little moment about me. I'm Em. And I am your host for this 15 or so minutes little session as part of this fabulous summit, which is lovely to be involved with. And I not only am one of the co-founders of a new global movement called Laugh, Think, Play, I'm also a clown. That's right, I really am a clown. And when you think clown, don't be scared. I'm not the scary kind. Think theatre fool. So we are the Shakespearean fool. Think theatre clown. Think we are more like the court jester. So in essence, as a clown, I am the observer of life. I say what's going on, and we're the truth tellers. So I very much come at it from that perspective. I've also worked with businesses such as Bayer, Bloomberg and Barclaycard, and businesses that do not begin with the letter B. So do not worry, you are in safe hands. And if that's performing and that's business, where my head is, cleverly placed, is bang in the middle. So I hope by the end of this 15 or so minutes, you have some ideas on how to laugh a little bit more, how to think a little bit more with kindness, and of course, how to play a little bit more, which will help you be even better. Now, I just need to put it out here. I love all of you. That's right. I think people that do your work, you have superpowers, and it is definitely not a superpower that I have. And I also, having worked with lots of EAs and PAs and VAs, I also know that sometimes you can be undervalued, underappreciated, not only by the organisations that you work for, but also by yourselves. So I am here as an entrepreneur of 20 years just to quickly say thank you for being you. I am very lucky. I have the most amazing VA who has worked with me as my VA and PA for the last 10 years. And trust me, this video would not be happening if it was not for the lovely Ramon saying, Em, you need to do that. Because as you can see, in case you haven't already worked it out, I am in a Airbnb flat, which is why I've got this slightly weird thing above me there. That's what you get when you're in Croatia recording this. So such is my life. Anyhow, there you go, a little bit of story for me. So laughing, thinking and playing. Now these things I believe are fundamentally human. And in the world of business and in the world of life, unfortunately, I don't think we spend enough time prioritising it because it's not something that we think, I must do that. But in the world of work, I just want you to think for a minute, how different do you feel? That's a better way of phrasing it. How different do you feel when you have a right proper laugh? I know for sure that when I have a really good belly laugh, I feel so much better. Now, the thing is at work, we're not sort of told, well, we should be laughing. You know, work and business has to be very important. Does it? Because the funny thing is that when we allow ourselves to laugh, not only are we more creative, not only are we more collaborative, not only does it up our curiosity, it helps us connect more as human beings. So I wonder, what difference might it make for you if just every day you let yourself watch a little comedy video? I'm not talking hours, I'm just talking in between those many, many tasks that you already know that you already have. What difference might it make if you just let yourself watch a 5-minute comedy video? Or I wonder what difference might it make as opposed to, I've got so many things to do, I've got to get the kids to school, I've got to do this, then I've got to do that, then I've got to do this. What difference might it do if you actually allowed yourself to prioritise having a quick call with your friend that really makes you giggle? So I appreciate we're all super busy people. So the way that I do that is that every Tuesday morning I have a regular catch up with one of my oldest friends called Rach. Now, Rachel and I, we talk about everything that's going on in our lives. I've known her since we went to school together, but I guarantee every Tuesday morning I will have at least one belly laugh. And you know what? That sets me up for the day. So I'm not suggesting that you have to just laugh all the way through, or indeed, do you have to become a comedian or an improviser or a clown? I'm not suggesting that. But I wonder what difference it might make for you if you bring a little bit more lightness. And you know when you're joining a Zoom call or a Teams call and everyone's like that? I wonder what difference it might make if you just smiled. If you just perhaps suggested, should we just watch a little comedy video just for a minute? What difference might that make to your world? So laugh a little bit more. It will help you feel better. Now, when it comes to thinking, hands up, who has had those thoughts when you go, my thoughts, perhaps not that kind about ourselves. Hands up, hands up, who has gone, yeah, you talk to yourself up here, not as kindly as you would do to your friends, to your partners, to your loved one, to your work colleagues. Now, I know that that happens to all of us. How do I know that, I hear you ask? I mean, I don't because I'm recording this, but I know that you are asking that, really. Well, I know that because I have coached literally thousands of people. I have worked with people across all sectors, like I know you are. And can I let you into a secret? All of us that are working, we're all human beings. I know! Mind-blowing! We're all human beings. I mean, who could imagine such a thing? All of us being human beings. And every single person, and I know a lot of you that work with very senior execs and CEOs, you know what? They also have thoughts. And quite often, they're not that kind. So I wonder, what difference might it make to you if you allowed yourself to really consciously choose how you are thinking in your heads? Now, this is not an easy thing to do. I believe it takes real courage to really challenge how we think. And the reason that I'm sitting here doing this for you is that I've spent 20 odd years challenging myself. How do I think? How do I think about me, Em Stroud? How do I change what's going on here? Because the reality is I can't influence anything that's going on in your own minds, but I can challenge what is going on in my own mind. Now, how do you do that? Now, if there is one thing that I really hope that you take from this, it's that if you just carry on always doing exactly what you've always done at a pace that you've always done, your thought processes and your life and your success is never going to shift in the way you really want to. You have to take a step back. You have to get off all the conveyor belts that you have formed for yourself, whether that's me at work, that's me at home, that's me getting to work. And you just need to just take a step back and go, okay, right, what's going on for me? Now, there's a couple of things that I think really, really help. One is that you actually have to actively self-reflect. Now, I've spoken to thousands, if not tens of thousands of people around the world. And when I ask how many of you actually self-reflect, like with a pen and a piece of paper, I'd say maybe 5%. If you want to change how you're thinking about yourself, so you want to change and you want to add kindness to how you're thinking about yourself, then I would gently suggest that you buy yourself a notebook. That's right, kids. I've just said go out and buy a notebook. Whoop, whoop. Go out and buy yourself a notebook. And just every week for 5 minutes, all of these things I'm suggesting are really simple. For 5 minutes, write down one of the following. Write down, okay, here's a couple of things that I've done really well this week. Because knowing you, and I do know you, I bet you're really good at doing all the things that you can sort of criticise yourself. Oh, I messed up that, I didn't do that, that wasn't as good. But I wonder how often do you give yourself that permission to go, I did that really well. So I just urge you, every single week, write down 2 or 3 things that you've done really well. Then, when you're having a really bad day and you're feeling really challenged, you've then got this notebook that you can choose to look at. And for those, that have bosses, which most of you will, unless you work for yourself as a VA, when it comes down to it and you have your appraisal or whatever you call it in your organisation, you then have a notebook of evidence of things that you have done really well. So there's that way. The other way of really challenging how you think about yourself is just taking that moment, and when that voice goes, oh, better not say that, you're going to be too loud, too silly, too, fill in your own gap here. I want you just to take some time and go, who is that voice? Who is that voice that says, oh, change it to your own name, obviously. Who Who is that voice that goes, oh, Em? And in my case, one of mine was, oh, Em, you're never going to write a book. No, you're not very good at writing. When I started to unpick that thought process, I was like, who is that voice? Lo and behold, as I worked it out, that voice that was still inside my head wasn't Em's voice. It was a really old English teacher of mine. Turns out I can write. Turns out I changed the way that I'm thinking about writing. And with some support, and I am all about getting support, and the fact that you're here demonstrates that you are willing to get support, to seek new ideas, to learn, to be curious, which is awesome. Turns out I can write. My first book was published a couple of years ago, and I'm writing my second book right now. Whoop whoop. So, what I ask you is, when you have those thought processes, and you know, the too much, too whatever, right? Take some time, and again, write it down. Don't just stay in your head. There's a thing that the more that we write, the more that we get it out of our heads, the less power it has. Plus, it also helps you see it rather than being in it. And ask yourself, is that voice my voice? Now, it could be one of your voice from when you decided this thing about yourself. So I've worked with loads of people about presentations. So let's use that as an example. And quite often, somebody has a really bad experience when they're younger, like standing up and doing a drama class or something, or their first professional experience and the meeting goes really badly wrong. So in their head, they've created that moment, and that's like, well, you're not very good at that. And then when they're about to do it again, you're not very good at that. Do you remember what happened? So that was you at a point in your life making a decision which served you at that point. Just ask yourself now, does that decision still serve me? Is that a helpful thought to have? If it is, carry on. If it's not, challenge it. So sometimes our unhelpful thoughts come from ourselves. Sometimes, and quite often with this one, they come from one of our primary caregivers. So that could have been our parents or somebody that was really formative in our younger years. So in my case, I sometimes had phrases from my mum about various different things, which weren't that helpful. So I've had to work through those. Or finally, the other where our voices can come from is like the example I gave you earlier in terms of my English teacher saying you're not very good at writing. As soon as you work out, that thought in my head is not actually my voice, or it was my voice at a younger age, you can change it. You are in charge of what's going on in here. And what I witness is so many of us, we give away all of our power to our audience. We're always seeking other people to change what is going on inside here. Can't do it. And that has to change. As soon as you realise that the only person that can shift how you feel about yourself and how you think about yourself is yourself, then the world opens up. So I ask you, how can you think about yourself with more kindness? And even if you can't change your thought processes really quickly, because it takes time, right? How can you be more kind and gentle to yourself? Because if you are more kind and gentle to yourself, you know what? You will feel better. And if you feel better, you will perform better. If you perform better, you will have more success, whatever that looks like for you. And then finally, playing. Now, I quite often say the word play to a room full of adults, and I'm met with this. Oh no, please don't make me play, because I might look stupid, and you know, which is really strange, because if I say that to a room full of 8-year-old kids, they're like, yeah, let me play, let me do this. Now, it's really important that I give play a little bit of context. Now, for me, I play in certain ways because I am a clown. I'm an improviser. I play on stages. I play with stories, right? I love to do these things. But there are actually 12 ways that all of us play as adults. And generally, as adults, there will be 3 ways that each of us can play and likes to play, right? So there's 12 ways that we can play. I'm going to share some of them with you now. So and see which one you recognise. And I think as soon as we realise that, there's these different ways of playing, suddenly you'll realise you are playing more than you already think you are. So the way that we play, there are the competitors. You know the competitors. No doubt if you're watching this, you'll be like, yes, I know how to play. Yes, I do it very well. So competitors are just that. They love to compete. They can turn anything into a competition. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm one. I've definitely got part of that inside of me. So there's a competitor. Then there is the makers, the people that love to make things that, could be crafted things, just coming up and generally using their hands. Then there's the storytellers. People that love to play with words, that love to curate stories and engage using that way. Then there's the movers, the people that just love to move their body. They might love dancing, they might like yoga, they might love running, but they're different to the competitors. You know the kinds. You know if you're a mover, not that. Then there's the comics. Now, for someone like me, you might end up doing it professionally. For other people, you are just somebody that just loves making people laugh. So there's the comics, which is just a beautiful way of playing. And you'll all know one, and some of you will be comics. Then there's the producer. Now, producers love to produce stuff. Now, there could be the easiest one to come up with is sort of like you're a gardener. But you could be somebody that is a producer that loves to produce films and make things in that way. So there's a producer. Then there is the keepers. Now, these are people, fine and good people, that love to kind of keep different things and put them into collections. They get loads of joy from doing such things. Then, and I wonder which ones you're recognising, then there's the dreamers. Now, those are the type of people that just love to play like this. They're very happy, just in their own world. They love to have that time just to play and go off into their own beautiful space. Then there is the organisers. Now, I remember the first time I shared this as a way of play, and this woman came up to me at this particular speaking gig. She's like, finally, I can tell my husband that I like to play, and what I do is playing. So organisers, they are the types that, well, they absolutely love to work on spreadsheets. That's the easiest way I can describe it. They love putting stuff together, working out things, and they'll quite often love that far more than any of the actual events that they're genuinely organising. So then there's the organiser. Then, of course, I'm doing this all from memory because I've been Croatia, so just bear with me while I'm working which ones I haven't said. I'm counting on my hands. This is called live, doing this live, I'm telling you. Then, of course, there's the explorer. Now, the explorer does not necessarily mean that it's all just about travel. It could also mean that you're the kind of person that loves to get on the internet and suddenly can lose themselves for hours. You know, that can just lose themselves for hours, just going and seeking out things. You know, they're the explorers. I think that's all 12. Apologies if it's not. If you want to find out, then, you know, it's in my new book. So yes, anyway, so there's at least, I think that's 12. I think I did all 12, so that's good, isn't it? So there's loads of different ways of play, and I really hope you recognise that. Now, the curious thing here is, do you let yourself play? Now, again, having worked with thousands of people, I know that most adults don't. And the gift of play, well, there's loads, but the gift of play is that you can't help but be present when you're playing. Now, for those of you that have kids, then I would just gently suggest play with the kids. Put your phones down. Just play with your kids. And as soon as you're present, you cannot help but enjoy those moments. Play helps us become more centered. Play connects us with ourselves. Oh, I've just remembered the other one, the artist and the creator. There you go. There you go. I knew there was one that I'd forgotten. The artist. So there's an artist, and that's how they like to play. They like to play through art and creating art. Oh, phew, that would have really annoyed me, and probably annoyed some of you as well. So there you go. There's the other way. So there's the. If you play and you really let yourself play, it's amazing what can happen. And I just ask you, put some playtime in your diary. Put some playtime in your diary. Because if you play, it doesn't mean that the rest of the world falls apart. It doesn't mean that the rest of the world suddenly becomes amazing and happy and joyful and all of that stuff. But what it does is it gives you those moments of joy and wonder. And through play, you can reconnect with yourself, and again, you're in charge of you. Now, I have just done a whistle-top tour of 20 minutes of laughing, thinking and playing, and why you should do more of it. I'm now going to be coming on a Q&A, and I'd love to answer all of your questions. Trust me when I say, if you laugh more and if you think more about yourself with kindness and you play more, you cannot help but feel better. And if you feel better, you cannot help but achieve more. So that's been me, Em Stroud. I look forward to joining you on the Q&A. If you've got any questions or anything else like that, get in touch with me. You can find me at emstroud.com, or of course you can find us on laughthinkplay.com, which is our new global movement, and we're going to be running workshops online and in person to build our community of people that want to feel better. So do come and get involved. Thank you for watching. I hope that this has given you some food for thoughts. That's me saying goodbye from Croatia. Bye.